Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I had a pretty good week. There were some days that were better than others. I'm still recovering from my cough. Hopefully I'll be able to get through this without doing too many cough cuts, but we will see. Mostly I feel like a functioning human. There are some days if I go out too much, the cold air kind of reactivates it. There's other days that I've just been really tired this week, but otherwise I feel pretty good, and I've been getting some work done this week. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen some posts how I am one of the dyers that is collaborating with Pretty Little Yarns to create an advent calendar. So I was working on those this week and I think they look so cute. My theme is the Muppets Family Christmas. So I was able to get that done. But yeah, so it's been a pretty good week. And then yeah, before I get into the knitting, I just want to thank everybody who left a comment on last week's episodes. I really appreciate all your kind words. I appreciate your congratulations. It was just really lovely reading everything. I'm so glad that you guys are as excited as we are. And yeah, so I'm planning on doing a little update at the end of this episode, just talking a little bit more about how the first couple of months have gone. I know some people are interested in hearing that and some people are not, so we're going to leave that at the end. But what else do I have for you today? I actually have a pretty full table in front of me, and it's been a little while since I've done kind of a longer episode, so if you're one of the people who like longer episodes, this may be for you. We will have to see. Sometimes I just breeze through things, but I have a feeling that this episode may be a little longer than some of my previous ones. So I have some work in progress to share with you on some of the things I've been working on. I think 2 projects that you've seen already. I have kind of a little finished object that's kind of a little throw-in. I have a sewing finished object, and then also I've brought in some finished objects from the past. So I've actually pulled out some of the items that I have knit a couple of years ago with anticipation of possibly being able to add to our family at one point. And so there was a bunch of things I knit that I've put aside, and I thought it might be fun to share those with you. So I will do those towards the end as well. So yeah, I have some knit from the past, I have some current progress, I have some finished objects. So let's get started. As always, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. We are back on coffee. It's my one treat a week. I have my 1 cup every Friday when I record my little episode for you guys. So this week it's going to be peanut butter, and this is from Bones Coffee. This is actually a flavor that I have reordered. I really like it. It's not as weird as it sounds. It's kind of like a very subtle nutty flavor, and then it's just got a little bit of sweetness from the jelly. It really doesn't taste like jelly, but that's what we have today. And I am going to be thoroughly enjoying that for the rest of this afternoon. So let's get started with the projects that you have seen previously. And we are going to start with my Dennis socks. So I have been working on this pair of socks for Dennis. One of the goals on my bingo card is to make him 4 pairs for Christmas. This is my last pair, and I have finished the first sock. So when I showed this to you last week, I was somewhere down here on the foot. I didn't really have that much more to go. I knew if I just spent a little bit of time on this, I could finish that first sock, and I did. And then what I like to always do when I'm working on a pair of socks is as soon as I finish kitchering up that toe, I like to cast on the second sock. So that is what I did. I cast it on and I got that started. And then I moved on to other projects, but that's okay. It started, it's very easy for me to pick up and knit on at this point. So for his socks, I like to do 74 stitches. I always do a 2x1 rib. I'm just doing plain stockinette socks for his German short row heel. The yarn that I'm using is this one here. It's just your typical, it's not very soft, it's your workhorse kind of wool and nylon blend yarn. That is what he needs. He is really rough on his socks. And I am using 2.25 millimeter for this pair. Usually I like to use 2 millimeters, but those are currently being used in my Desert Vista Dyework socks, so I'm using 2.25 with these, and it is going just fine. Now next, you might be saying, okay, so now we're going to see your progress on your October Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I have a confession. I did not work on them at all over the past week. I am totally surprised. I don't think that's ever happened where I've gone a week without making progress on my monthly socks. I think last week I told you how I was going to go to the Woodstock Festival with a friend, and we did, and it was lovely, but the whole ride there, and it was a fairly long drive, it was almost 3 hours, we just chatted, so I didn't do any knitting on the way there, I didn't do any knitting on the way back, and then just this past week, like I said, there's been a lot of days where I either had work to do, or like yesterday, I was just totally exhausted. I don't think I really did anything like yesterday. So the days that I've been feeling like knitting, those just haven't been the project that I've felt like knitting on. And the end of the month is very quickly approaching, so I need to get my butt moving on them. We are planning on going to my mom's tomorrow for dinner. We're going to be having a Halloween dinner. And so I'm bringing those socks, and I need to make some progress. I think when I showed you last time, I was on the foot of the first sock. I know there's really not a lot of work to do. If I just sit down and dedicate some time, I know I can finish off the foot and get the second sock started. So I need to get that done because we are coming up, I think next Thursday is Halloween, so it's the last day of the month. And I need to get these done. And I have clubs to work on next week too, so we need to work on those socks. And like I said, if I was able to do the September socks with all the stuff that I had going on in this month, there is no excuse for me to not finish these October socks. So that's what's going on with my October socks. I didn't work on them at all. However, I did work on another project that I shared with you last week. I showed you the start of my kind of DK worsted weight exploration station. And I've made some pretty good progress on it. I think it's just the thicker yarn, and the point of the pattern that I'm on is just very intuitive. It's very easy to do without referring to the pattern, so I'm just really enjoying it. I also brought with me the first exploration station that I did in fingering weight, just so that I could show you kind of like where I am in the pattern. So this is the first one. I did this again with sock weight yarn, and you can see all the wedges there. And so that is the part that I was working on last week. I was trying to get through these wedges, and I was really hoping to have the wedges done for today to show you, but I'm almost done. Because the wedges are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and the rows are getting longer and longer, it is taking a little bit more time. But I'm still really happy with where I am. So this is where I am now. I think last week I had finished the first series of wedges. So I had got the starting point, and then I had done a wedge in each color. So I think that is where I had ended off when I showed it to you last. I have since added almost the next set of wedges. So I did the full wedge in the gray, the full wedge in the orange, and then I'm working on this last wedge in that speckled shade. So once I'm done the wedge in that kind of speckled shade, I get to move on to the next section of the pattern, which is, see, I'm going to show you with this one, which is this brioche section right here. I haven't done brioche in a good long while. I couldn't tell you the last project. I think I've done one since this project, but I couldn't tell you what project I've worked on with brioche recently. But I do remember that in this pattern, it's very straightforward back and forth brioche. There's no real, there's not a lot of stitch changes or anything like that. So once you get going, it's pretty simple. That's what I really like about this pattern in general, is that even though there's lots of stitch changes, so you can see you did the short rows here, which are very intuitive, then you get into this brioche section here, and then you get into this kind of slip stitch section here. There's some garter rows here, and then a bit of lace. Each section, even though you're changing the techniques, it's very straightforward, and it's just really fun to see how the colors combine. So this is what I'm going to be tackling next, and based on the colors that I've chosen in the order that I've chosen them, and I did, when I was choosing my colors and which ones were going to be like A, B, C, and D, I did refer to that first shawl to see which colors were going to be mingling with which other colors. So I picked the orange because I only had one skein of this. So I picked this one to go with the letter that used the least amount of yardage. And then I made sure that whatever sections this one was going to be combining with, that I liked that other color. So the next section with the brioche, the orange and the gray are going to be combining, and the gray is going to be the color that pops out in front, and the orange is going to kind of recede. So I think that's going to be a really, really pretty combination, and I am just loving how these colors, I know it's turning the light all crazy, but I'm just really liking how these colors are kind of mixing. I did talk last week about how I chose these colors pretty much based on what quantities I had in a DK worsted weight, so it might not necessarily have been, if I had just gone to a store and looked at the section of yarns with worsted superwash and picked out 4 colors, it would probably have been a totally different combination. But I'm really, really, really liking how these are working together, and I think that's part of why I've liked working on this so much this week, and why I've been neglecting my DVD socks. I have to not do that this coming week, and I really have to focus on those DVD socks. But that is the progress that I have made on that project, and I am just so pleased with it. Next, I think I have my 2 finished objects. So the first one is a very, very simple one. It's just kind of a throw-in one. It's not one that I was really excited about doing, but I changed one of my goals on my bingo card. And again, if you are participating in the Bling Your String Crafty Bingo Challenge, and you have not checked out the thread recently, you might want to do that, because the end of October is the cutoff date for the opportunity to change things up a little bit if you need to. So I had decided that there were 2 goals on my card that I wanted to switch up a little bit. I didn't make any changes back in June. That was the other allowable time for changes. So I was able to change 2 this month. And one of them I changed to make 10 dishcloths as Christmas gifts. So this week, there was a time where I just wanted to work on something really, really, really easy. And so I went in to my cupboard and I brought out the basket of dishcloth cotton that I have, and I put it near my desk so that it's just very easy to just grab a skein and kind of work on it. And I decided to do that. I grabbed a skein of cotton and I was like, let's just whip out a dishcloth. I know this is something that I can get done in an afternoon if I just work on it, and I did. So that's what I have for you as my finished object this week. Is just a very simple dishcloth. And when I make my dishcloths, they are not fancy. I never follow a pattern. I don't particularly enjoy making dishcloths, but I do enjoy using them, and I do enjoy giving them as gifts. So generally what I do for mine is I just do a chain for whatever width I want the dishcloth to be, and then I work back and forth in rows in either a single crochet or a half double crochet until the height matches the same size as the width, and then I go around the edge, I think once in just a single crochet. You can kind of see there's an edging there, so I go around once in a single crochet, and then I go around again in a slip stitch. So you can kind of see here this little row of chains there. That's the slip stitch. So it kind of gives it a border, it kind of finishes it off, and that's basically it. That is how I do my dishcloths. I was actually at Fabricland earlier this week, and they have a little tiny yarn section. The yarn is totally overpriced, but members get 50% off, and the 50% off brings it down to about the price that a normal retailer would sell it for. So I checked to see if they had some of that scrubby yarn, and they did, so I picked up a skein of that, because what I like to do is hold that double with the dishcloth cotton to make a scrubby dishcloth to go with each just kind of regular dishcloth. So next I'm going to be working on some scrubby dishcloths and some other colors, just going through my basket, and hopefully by the end, well, hopefully by Christmas, because they're supposed to be gifts, I will have a pile of 10 dishcloths that I can divvy up as gifts. So the next thing that I have to share with you is actually a sewing project. So as I said, Halloween is fast approaching. It is next Thursday, and last weekend I took Avery out to one of the big Halloween pop-up stores that show up around this time of year. and just to look to see what they had and to see if there was anything that stood out to her. She didn't really up till this point have any solid ideas of what she wanted to be for Halloween, so I thought, you know, let's just go, let's look, and there might be something that jumps out at you, and then we can work from there. So we went, and she did find something, but it's not a complete costume, so Mommy still has to do a little bit of work. And so this is what she found here. It's just this little set, this little leopard set. So you get the mask, this is the part that she really loved, these little leopard fingerless mitts. So you get some little mitts, you get a tail, you get a little collar, and so we picked that up. It was actually very reasonably priced, and then I was like, okay, so I just have to worry about kind of creating the rest of the costume so that she looks a little bit more leopard-like. And I find that this happens most years. I'm not someone who is like dead set on creating the entire costume by scratch, but usually there's always some sort of component that I need to make. So last year she was a tooth fairy. I had to make some things to go with that. I think she was a Ghostbuster the year before, and I had to completely make the pack, because the pack that the costume came with was ridiculous. So there's just always something that I end up having to make for her costume. So this year it's going to be like a little leopard suit kind of thing. So I figured the easiest thing to do, instead of making like a leopard one piece, because I think that would be pretty complicated, is to do like a little pant and then some sort of little top in some leopard fleece. So when I went to the fabric store earlier this week, I went and got some leopard print fleece, and I decided that I needed to make at least one piece this week and one piece next week, because I don't know how much, I never know how much energy I'm going to have now. So I wanted to knock one of them out this week, and I did. So what I did is I just took a pair of kind of fleece oversized pants that she already has and that she wears and that fit her, and then I used them as a pattern. So I just I folded them so that you got kind of like the pant shape, the pant leg shape, and I laid it out on the fleece that I bought, cut it out, and then I kind of remembered, I've done pants before, and I kind of remembered how you kind of sew the pieces together, but I just wanted to make sure, so I did a little Google search, and I ended up finding a blog called the Gluesticks Blog, and it had a little article on sewing PJ pants without a pattern, which is exactly what I needed. I already had the pieces, I just needed a refresher on which seams to sew first, etc. So once I found that and I looked at the pictures and read everything, off I went. It was very, very easy to do, and I've got some little pants done. So I was able to finish some little leopard print pants for her, and she tried them on when she got home from school today, and they do fit her. They probably won't fit her next year. They fit her fine right now, which is fine. I only need them for this year, but next I have to do the top. So I either have to figure out if I'm going to do like a pullover top, or if I'm going to do one with kind of like a split down the back so that she can just put it over her coat, because here on Halloween it's always a gamble. I'm pretty sure the forecast right now is calling for some kind of rainy weather on Halloween. You basically have to put your costume over top of your cold weather clothes. So I'm thinking I might do a split down the back with some Velcro or something so that she could kind of pop it over her her coat. If I have enough fabric, I'm thinking of maybe doing some sort of kitty, kind of like the kitty ear flap hats that I've knitted, but with fleece, where you just do the two pieces and then sew them together and then kind of tack the ears. I know the little mask on the set has little ears, but if it's going to be really cold, she'll probably need some sort of little hat, and it might as well make it have ears too. So if I have enough fabric, I'll probably do that. We'll just have to see. The weather could change, but who knows at this point. So those are all the projects that I have been working on this week. Next, I thought I would share with you some past knits, some past baby knits that I had worked on many years ago in anticipation, in hope of possibly being able to add to our family at some point. So I did mention last week when I made the announcement that this is something that we've been working on since Avery was 18 months old. We've really been hoping to be able to add another baby to our family, and it's just taken a lot longer than we thought. And back, I think all of these pieces that I'm about to show you I made in 2015. And yeah, sometimes it's just, I did the same thing when we were trying for Avery. It just gets to the point, it can get very frustrating. And so what I like to do was to just work on some projects, I call them good juju projects, just putting out good thoughts into the world. And so I started these little items to kind of put away. So I think I worked on these when I checked my project pages from about June to September of 2015. And it's just a nice little set that's been kind of packed away. So I think the first thing I will show you is kind of the little clothing set. At the time, I was a really big spinner. I was spinning all the time. I made tons of yarn. That has really slowed down at this point, but I had some yarn that I spun in really pretty rainbow colors, and I decided to make a little baby set out of it. So the first thing I have to show you is this little sweater. So everything you see here in the kind of the multicolor, that is hand spun. And then this was a yarn that I brought in. I don't know what this is, but this is a yarn that I brought in because I knew I wasn't going to have enough to do the complete sweater. And then you can see there's a little fox button in there. Very cute. The pattern that I used for this is called the Newborn Layette. It was a paid pattern, and it came with this sweater pattern as well as a hat and some booties. So I did not do the hat, but I did do the booties, and oh my goodness, these are so tiny. So here are the booties here. Again, I made these in the hand spun as well, and they're just so tiny. I do remember that these were quite fun to knit. I think they're really cute. I would probably have to layer these over something. Booties never stay on, but it was just to have as part of the set, and I think they're really kind of cute the way that they're mismatched there. And that pattern did come with a hat, but like I said, I didn't make the hat. The hat I made is called the Presto Preemie hat, and it looks like this here. Now, I actually made one of these when we were expecting Avery. I made it in a different color, and it just looked so cute on her that I wanted to make another one. So again, this is with the hand spun yarn, and what's nice about the way that you kind of alternate the knit stitches and the purl stitches is that even though it kind of scrunches up, when it's on, it stretches quite a bit, and it can kind of grow with them quite a bit. So this is a smaller size. It is meant for like right newborn stage, but I think this will be really cute, and I really like how this little set turned out. Like I said, it's been packed away, but having a look at it again, I'm really pleased with it. I think it's really cute. So some other items, I ended up making some toys. I believe this is also using my hand spun, though I think it was with the same braid of fiber, so the same colorway of fiber, but I used a different technique, and so the colors are similar, but it has a bit of a different appearance. So these two things are the teddy bear Rattle and the teddy bear Lovey, and both of these I believe are the same designer. Both are paid patterns. So first, I think I'm going to show you the Rattle. So this is the Rattle here. Crochet again. I think the next three projects I'm going to be showing to you are all crochet, but very simple to do. I don't know what I put in there. It's probably one of those like rattly cat balls, but yeah, it's a little Rattle. This here is the hand spun that I used. This looks like it was some sort of like acrylic, but yeah, just this little toy to go along with the set. And then finally the teddy bear Lovey. So this again was made by the same designer, so the face has a similar look to it. But this is one of those kind of little blankets that are kind of a little toy. And yeah, so that's all the hand spun there. And then you have the little toys. So I don't remember these taking very long. I think they were pretty quick projects. But all in all, I think they're pretty cute. So yeah, that's all the little items. And then I have one big item. So I had a whole bunch of single skeins of cotton in a whole bunch of different colors that had been in my stash for ages, and I decided to make a baby blanket. So this is called the Bertie baby blanket, and I do remember really enjoying working on this. Like I've said, I think I've said before, I do crochet, but I'm not a big crocheter. Like I can follow a pattern. I just prefer knitting, and sometimes crochet patterns can kind of trip me up a little bit, but usually I can figure it out. But this is a crochet pattern, and I remember once I got into it, it was a really enjoyable pattern. So if you like to crochet and you like the look of this pattern, you might enjoy it as well. So this is called the Bertie baby blanket, and I just really liked how it was a way to use all of the colors that I had. Like I had so many different colors in this crochet cotton, and I was able to use them kind of all together in this blanket. So as you can see, once I finished kind of this main section here, I used whatever leftovers I had to do the border. I forget if that was written in the pattern, I'd have to look, but I just went around the edges with each of the colors to create kind of a nice border. And it's a pretty good sized little blanket, but yeah, I just think it's so cute with all the different colors, so I'm really pleased with this as well. So those are kind of my little knits from the past that I've had put aside and that I can't wait to use. I did have a comment on last week's episode asking if I could share some of the things that I made for Avery that I will possibly be reusing, and I had thought of that, but everything's packed away. Things have been packed away for basically like 7-8 years. So I have to go through those boxes. I have to find the items that I know there was items that I knit while we were waiting for Avery to arrive, and then of course there's so many things that I knit for her after. I won't show you those, but I'm going to try and find some of the items that I knit for Avery without knowing she was Avery, and then kind of looking at them and seeing which ones I used, which ones maybe I didn't use, which ones I would like to use this time. We'll see. I'll just have to go through the box and see what's in there because it's been a little while. So that is it for all the knitting content this week. If you are someone who likes to hear pregnancy updates, that's what I'm going to do now, and if you're not, then that is fine, and I will see you next week for more knitting. There's really not a lot to update you on. It's been a very smooth time for me. So I am currently 15 weeks and a couple of days according to my app. So if you've ever used an app before, because there's an app for everything, right? Every Tuesday it kind of updates to the next week. So yeah, so on Tuesday I will be 16 weeks. But compared to Avery, so I mean, of course I'm going to compare everything to my experience with Avery. There's been a lot of differences and then some similarities. So first of all, I have not been sick at all, which has been lovely. I was very sick with Avery. It was always a gamble. At the time, I was still working, and it was always a gamble of whether I was going to be able to take the subway to work and get there without an incident. And this time, I have not been sick at all. So that has been lovely. Mostly been dealing with just fatigue. There are some days that I am just so dead tired. There's been what I call the evening ickies, so I don't really have, like a lot of people, they feel sicker in the morning. I found that from 3 o'clock on is when, if I'm gonna feel kind of gross, that's when it is. So it's around 3 o'clock to maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. So there's been a lot of nights where I just don't feel like cooking, and Dennis has been getting lots of microwavable dinners, but that's okay. That's something he's just going to have to deal with. That seems to be easing up a little bit, and so now it's just, there's some days that I'm really tired. So yeah, basically that's been it in terms of how I've been feeling. I feel pretty good, which has been really nice. In terms of something else, I don't know what something else, so cravings and all that people have, I didn't really have any with Avery, and I don't really have any with this pregnancy either. So I know there's some people who experience like crazy bizarre cravings. That just doesn't tend to be me. There are things that I have found that I want to eat that I didn't before. Like before, I'm not really big on certain fruits, and now I'm just like, give me all the fruits. I just want to eat all the fruits that I normally don't touch, like apples and bananas and grapes and stuff. just what I want to eat. And also there's been foods that instead of, like, I don't have any aversions where certain foods will kind of make me ill or the thought of eating them will make me ill, but there's just foods that I've lost complete interest in. So before, cucumbers were a big part of my diet. I had snacked on cucumbers every day, and I have completely lost all my interest in cucumbers. I just don't want to. I haven't bought them since, August. So other than ice cream, I've lost my interest in ice cream. Not that I was eating a lot of it before because, like I said, last year I kind of cut out sugars, but you'd think of all times, if I was going to treat myself to ice cream, now would be the time, and I'm not interested in it. And same with pizza. I'm not interested in pizza either. That was the same with Avery. I had completely lost all my interest in pizza when I was pregnant with her. So yeah, just not a lot of like crazy cravings or crazy aversions, just certain things that I'm more interested in or not interested in. And then in terms of Avery, so a lot of people are like, oh, Avery must be so excited about this, and she is. I can tell you right now, it is going to be a long, however months are left, because there are constant questions about, is it time yet? Is the baby big enough yet? And because I was like, Avery, you need to wait past your birth. It's past your birthday, past Christmas, past Valentine's Day, past Easter. I don't know when Easter is next year, but I was like, you have so many holidays that you have to get through before we can even, start thinking about it being almost time. So patience is going to be an issue with her. However, she has really enjoyed, so like I mentioned, I have this little app that kind of updates daily on different developments and stuff. And one of the nice things is if you've ever used an app or if you've ever followed like website stuff before, there's always like a size correlation as the baby grows. And the app that I am using every week, it gives you a choice between 4 categories. So there's like bakery, fruits and vegetables, cute animals, and toys and games. And depending on which one you pick, it will correlate the size to something in that category. So something that she's really enjoying, and she knows Tuesday it updates. She enjoys seeing so we get to look through each one, and then she'll pick the one that makes the most sense to her in terms of something that she can visualize, and then that's the one that we choose for the week. So this week, baby is as big as a box of crayons. So your standard like 8 crayons, that's how big baby is. So that's the one she chose. I think the other choices were like a canary, an eclair, and an avocado, but she chose the box of crayons. So she's really enjoyed having that to look forward to. She knows that if she wants to, she can go into the app and look, because it will just talk about how the baby's growing and what kind of things are happening. So she really likes that. She likes when I've had the pictures. She wrote something at school. They had to do a little write-up on, their hopes for the next year, and one of them was she's going to have to learn how to be a big sister, and she's going to have to learn how to change diapers and all this stuff. So she is very, very excited, and I have to say, as much as the gap between them is not what we had in mind, I think it's made things much easier. She understands when I'm tired. She understands when I'm not feeling well. And she's very independent. So that has been much easier on me. And I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's going to be such a little helper. And I do believe that as well. Sometimes I think she's probably going to be too much of a little helper, but she's definitely going to be, she's just so excited. She is so excited. So yeah, that's basically, I think, the update that I have for you this time. I'm not going to update you every week, but maybe every trimester or something, that we'll see. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm pretty okay about, talking about whatever. And yeah, so I think that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a lovely weekend filled with lots and lots of crafting, and I will talk to you soon.